No. America doesn't have one foreign ally anymore. They've all been betrayed.
Do we as Christians have any allies outside of Christ?
Not that I know of.
George W.'s popularity. You said mention that too.
Oh yes, George W. George W. Bush, of course, is skull and bones. He's a Mason. His father's a highly skilled Mason. His brother's a knight of Columbus. His uncle's a knight of Malta. He's dirty, dirty, dirty. And before 9/11 happened, George Bush took a trip to Rome and conferred with Pope John Paul II as they worked out all the arrangements. And remember, all the archbishops and the cardinals, they left this country and they went to Rome to talk about the supposed sodomite problem. No, they couldn't care less because they're all sodomites. What they did was they were planning for the attack of 9/11. Because remember, the cardinal, the archbishop of the city, he controls the government of that area, and then the Jesuits control the Pope controls the archbishop, and the Jesuits control the Pope. So George Bush then was involved in 9/11, and then after that, they used that to ignite this war. But I've said that his popularity must go down, and this is exactly what's happened. His popularity must go down. Down, down. And he's talking about weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist. And remember Valerie Plame and her husband Wilson?
Right.
He's a decent guy. Wilson told the truth. He said Niger never tried to get, was never approached by getting any atomic substance from Iraq. It's all a lie. And then Valerie Plame is betrayed not by Scooter Libby, but by Dick Cheney and George Bush. And who knows how many CIA agents were killed over that, betrayed. So in the meantime, George Bush, his popularity is going down, 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 down. And you say these people are dangerous, they have weapons of mass destruction. We could very well get nuked here. I have a book called Endgame by 2 American generals.
You're saying they're setting him up to be really right?
Yeah! Absolutely. They're setting him up to be right because when the detonations take place, see, I told you so! All these Muslims in this country, we detonated these devices, they snuck them in here. There's no sneaking any atomic bomb in here. You can see them all from the satellites. It's all nonsense. They have them in place. They've been put in place for 20 years, and when they decide to detonate them at a certain time of the year, when the sun's in the right harmonic relationship to where they want to detonate, they will detonate, and then they will justify a whole bunch of other things. Opening the camps, suspending the Constitution. We're going to have total war, just like Goebbels had in Nazi Germany. We're going to draft all the young men from 18 to 35. And we're all going to fight those Muslims and kill them because look what they did to us. When in fact it was the dirty, stinking intelligence communities run by the Vatican did it. The CIA, the FBI, KGB, Mossad, all working for the Vatican.
And that way the Pope can step up one day and go, I can fix this.
And the other thing is this. Remember that the Pope's formal position is that he's against this war.
Right.
So it doesn't look like the Pope's really behind it when he caused it. The other position is this. Europe, we're not involved in this war. And that's why they're bringing Britain out of it, because Britain cannot afford to be a target for some Muslims that might want to bomb Britain.
Because they left.
Because they're leaving. That's right. Britain has to be in the Holy Roman Revised Empire of the Pope. And remember, the Anglican Church is thinking about reuniting with the Pope now. That's just what they want. So then when Britain gets out of this war, there's no reason for them to bomb any place in Europe. And when Mecca and Medina are blown, then they can, and then when they blow maybe northern Miami, maybe Houston, I'm very sure they're going to, I very strongly feel they're going to do Los Angeles. Maybe New York City, they're going to hit the Jewish populations and the historic Protestant and Baptist populations as much as possible. So when they pull that off, they can justify all kinds of martial law, suspension of the Constitution, and all the troops now that have been trained in Iraq from house-to-house warfare, they're all ready to do it here in our major cities.
They've been testing it out.
They've already tested it. They've already perfected it. In the meantime, they're busy killing off our best troops with depleted uranium in Iraq. They're all getting sick. They're all coming back with their genes all fouled up, so they're fathering children without arms, without legs, further destroying the population and further weakening our military so we can't defend against an invasion.
Eric, what's the order as far as the Pope, the Jesuits above him? Or who does he answer to? Or just briefly?
Yeah, the Black Pope, the Jesuit general.
What's his name? That's Clovenbach?
Peter Hans Kovenbach. They're going to be another congregation. They're going to elect a new one
Where's
next
he,
year.
now where's his throne?
He lives outside Vatican walls at Borgo Santo Spirito number 5 in Rome.
Okay.
Okay? he then, with his Jesuit order, is in control of the Pope, and the Pope controls all the Roman hierarchy.
Okay.
Okay? The Jesuit general also controls all high-level Freemasonry. All of it. Which includes the Pope and the hierarchy.
Okay.
And so that's how the work. And then the hierarchy, they run the governments. So the master of George Bush is Edward Cardinal Egan. The master of Stephen Harper of Canada is the Archbishop of Montreal. The master of Putin in Russia is the Patriarch of Moscow. It's all this religious stuff that we think they're benign and harmless. They're the great rulers of the earth, and they control all the intelligence communities. And it's the intelligence communities that control your elections. They control who runs. The CIA doesn't want you running. You're not going to run. You're either going to stop or you're going to get a bullet, unless the Lord's protecting you. It's like George Wallace. If you're a black man and you're talking about black nationalism, or we need our own country here in North America, or we need to go back to Africa, you're going to get a bullet, just like Malcolm X. Malcolm X was a decent individual, and he advocated things the Vatican did not want. And so they killed him, and they controlled the New York Police Department, which is why they really never found the source of his murderers. And Cardinal Spellman was behind it. Cardinal Spellman killed Malcolm X. There can be nobody that has true nationalism with leaders that are going to rule for their benefit. Nobody. And they maintain this power through the international intelligence community, which is financed by the Federal Reserve Bank and ultimately us, yes.
Now, you mentioned earlier something about OJ.
Mm-hmm.
What were you referring to there?
Well, I believed for a long time that O.J. had killed his white wife. But I don't believe it anymore. Because according to my Jewish friend, Lenny Bloom in Canada, he knows a Hollywood producer that said there were several black men who went in together with their fortunes, and they bought controlling stocks in Ford International. Ford International is a very powerful international corporation. It's also involved in weapons production, I believe.
Not to be confused with Ford Motor Company.
Yes, not Ford Motor Company, it's Ford International. The men involved in this deal were O.J. Simpson, Michael Jordan, Bill Cosby, and a few other very wealthy blacks. Well,
sounds like everything's happened to one of them.
Yes, isn't that interesting? Let me get there.
Defense lawyer, what was his name?
Shapiro. We'll talk about his son. So what happens is when the Jesuits or the Knights find out what's been done, they send O.J. Simpson a gun loaded and tell him to blow his brains out. And so Simpson, they contact him, and he then sells back all the stocks. So they get all their control back of Ford International. But it's not long after that his wife and her friend, who's Jewish, get viciously murdered. Okay, and it's very interesting because they found a blood thumbprint or fingerprint on the back gate that they never brought as evidence to trial. You want to tell me why? The thumbprint or the fingerprint will tell you who it is. They refused to admit it into evidence at the trial. Why? Because it wasn't Simpson, that's why. And so now, after this happens, of course, Simpson's career is ruined. Michael Jordan's father is killed. Shapiro's son dies of a drug overdose. Bill Cosby's son is killed. Gunned down. You have all these guys that are killed that were related to this deal getting whacked. The odds are too great that it's by coincidence. And therefore, on those things alone, I say the whole investigation